And then you also kind of like mentioned some obviously automation with the international assessment report. How do you go about, let's say a company wants to use AI and automation, you probably don't recommend doing it 100%. What's the process there? But first, a message from our sponsor. SE Rankings is a top-rated SEO platform designed to help agencies and businesses of all sizes automate their daily tasks and make data-driven decisions. You can get your 14 free day trial at seranking.com. Check it out.
I would even say that, you know how they say that everything depends these days? And everything depends also on budgets. So we need to be realistic with clients.
Right.
Because if a company wants to translate 10,000 pages, there are probably ways to translate parts of the site and parts of the templates with AI, and it's gonna be perfectly fine.
Right.
It's just that we need to make sure that we are figuring out which parts must be translated by humans. And to be honest with you, I don't even like the word translated. I prefer to sort of like call it localizing the content towards like the right language. Okay. But I do think that when a company now has a site in English and it wants to go international towards 5 languages, let's say, using Google Translate or DeepL for parts of it may be fine.
Right.
When I say parts of it, it can also be sort of like a temporary solution until you figure things out, or even until you take the site live. Either way, 2 things must happen. You must identify the part that must be done by an editor, and the rest must at least be seen by a local person and confirmed by a local writer.
And you hire people for that, or usually the company has somebody on staff that's able to do that?
Both options exist. In most cases, we would hire freelancers for that. Mm-hmm. My company is not big enough for now to sort of like have all of these languages, but hiring the right people for the right languages is extremely important. It's not just the right language, it's also the specific dialect that they want. Just think of Spanish. Right. Like the first question is, okay, are you targeting Spain? Are you targeting Mexico? Right. Are you targeting the US? Are you targeting Argentina? Yeah. Very different dialects, and it's important to take this into account.
That's a complicated thing. So
it is.
Interesting. All right. Can we talk a little bit more about the more local aspect of it, like maybe maps and stuff when it comes to international SEO? Any thoughts around that? Do you do any of the Google Business Profile stuff for customers?
So I think that the first time that I did anything local was this year. Right. After so many years, I just never had a chance before that. That specifically was not international. We actually had it in 2 languages in the end, but I would say that not really, meaning that essentially Google Maps has a very different type of algorithm in comparison to the regular Google that we're looking at.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to...
I mean, the only thing that we didn't really discuss is that part of the process of how we even go towards international, I mean, one of the most important things, without a doubt, is taking the local competition into account.
Right.
Like, when people ask anyone in SEO, like, what should we take into account? Everything is a question of who you compete with and what are the metrics. Even take performance and speed into account. Is that site fast enough?
Interesting.
Who cares? The only question is whether it's faster than your competition, the guys that you're competing with. Obviously, we always strive to have a faster site, better performance, whatever. But it's all a question of competition. So one of the biggest sort of like steps that we go through when we are starting an international assessment is also figuring out who's out there. And in most cases, a company that runs, let's say in English, let's say a SaaS company, they have a tool, they sell it B2B to other companies, and they're like, oh, we want to take the English side towards Spanish, Italian, German, and Chinese. What should we do about it? The competitors might be different, and the SEO competitors are not always the business competitors that business owners have in mind. So the competition is sort of like a huge part out of the process as well. It's part of figuring out like the local adjustments that we need to take into account.
Yeah, I guess that's part of all the key research also. Like, what are people searching for? You can probably learn a lot about that from your competitors who are already there.
But also what they're doing with content, how differently are they presenting it?
Icons, colors, everything, really.
Everything, fonts, look and feel, metrics, which is always, a big thing. I always take that example of date formats. I've been in the States for about 3 months. This is the thing that confuses me the more. More than Fahrenheit, more than miles. It's 8/5. Is that May 8th or August 5th?
Which is why I just write it out, May 5, 20. Because I'm writing not just to an American audience, I'm writing to an international audience.
And people are getting confused by that.
I never ever use, number/year.
So Germans, for example, they don't do slashes, for instance. They don't do 8/5. They do 8.05.
And some do dashes and yeah. So
Exactly.
it's very interesting. And then you also have to be sensitive to how you word things for those cultures and all that type of stuff. So sometimes you might say something or name a product something, and you might have no clue what it translates to, or if it's slang or something. So yeah.
One more thing that I wanted to say, Barry, is that, and that's something that a lot of folks, I believe, they know and figured out, is that, and you know that too, Google very often, when they release an update, they release it in English.
Yes.
And it often feels like they're not always finishing the rollout worldwide. Not only because they don't always tell us that they actually finish the whole rollout globally, but also because we don't see everything everywhere, which basically means that it feels in some countries that SEO is slightly behind than what it is in the States. I definitely felt it in Israel.
Yeah.
I can think of so many examples that I've seen in Hebrew SEO over the past few years, which was almost ridiculous. Like, why would they still rank these folks? Even with images packs, things are still not 100% like it is in the States.
I think it's twofold. One is the algorithms have to understand the content, and that's harder for the algorithms to understand if they're not built in English. And well, three things. Two is there's a lot more for the machine learning to work with in English than for it to work with in other languages. And part of that is that there's a lot more competition for English websites.
Absolutely.
Whereas in Hebrew websites or other languages sometimes,
a lot less competition.
it's just Google doesn't have anything to rank. So they're going to rank garbage sometimes, which I think Google has admitted before. Obviously, it's becoming less and less of an issue as people write more content in other languages.
And you know what? That's why international has so much potential.
Yeah.
For some reason, everyone starts with English.
Yes.
And English is
Saturated.
I'm not just speaking about travel, finance, health. All niches are a lot more competitive in the States. And with all the tools and data and information we have today, going international should be easier than what most people think it is.
So that's what go international.
Go international, yes.
Cool. All right, very good. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Barry.
Please tell people how to find you. I guess it's, and also follow you on Twitter and social.
So my full name is Igal Stolpner. You can Google and find me. My Twitter handle is IgalST. That's it.
Cool. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Barry.